Good morning. This is Sarah Jones, one of the founders of Women Tech Council, and you're here with our Women Tech Council Capital Forum webinar. And we're so pleased to have Mary Carden from the SSAC, and we'll explain what that means in just a minute. But Mary and her team do amazing work here for the state of Utah to help startups get funding. We're actually going to focus mostly on federal funding, but there's a lot of state funding as well, and we'll touch on that during this program. So Mary, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for having us here today. The SSAC, it's the SBIR-STTR Assistance Center. It's part of USTAR, which is another acronym, Utah Science, Technology, and Research Initiative. USTAR is here to help Utah companies and researchers to advance their products and technologies into commercialization, and our program helps by helping small businesses find non-equity position funding from the feds.
And we are going to talk more about what all of that means. Lots of acronyms, lots of things to learn, but Mary and her team specifically, their job is to help founders and startup folks through this, what can be quite a complex process. And they've actually had twice the winning rate as other states, and so they're a huge resource for the state. So a housekeeping item, attendees can submit questions to the question section. You're also welcome to submit chats, and we'll be monitoring those as we go. We'll leave some time towards the end to let Mary respond to questions, but please submit questions as you think of them, and we'll make sure to reserve a little bit of time at the end. And then we will also be posting this online in our Women Tech Council social feeds so that you can have access to them and refer to them later. So Mary, let's get into this. This can be, there's going to be a lot of terms here, but Mary and her team, like I said, they're amazing. I've actually worked with them through one of the grant processes, and I just couldn't have been more pleased with how responsive your team was and knowledgeable.
Thank you.
So tell us more about USTAR.
You bet. USTAR began in 2006. Initially, we were here to help our two research institutions that are funded by the state, Utah State University and University of Utah. It was about $20 million in funding, and we actually hired what we called USTAR professors to help advance research that was going on at the universities. Just look at a way that could bring things to market in a quicker and better way, with a small outreach program as well. The outreach program was here to assist our companies throughout the state. We have offices from Clearfield to St. George. That was changed about 2 years ago to expand both the funding and the outreach. So today, USTAR doesn't help just Utah State University and the University of Utah, but has programs for all universities and colleges through competitive programs called UTAG, University Technology Acceleration Grants. So for researchers today, that is open. It closes on the 23rd of February, and there's information on our website. For small businesses, we expanded as well, and we have a program called TAP, which is Technology Acceleration Program. These are within specific sectors. All of this is available on our website, and we work in TRLs, or Technology Readiness Levels, which comes out of the DoD. Very good guidance on if you're in this space and you're looking to advance your technology or your product, then this is a fit for you. If you're a little further advanced, then the Governor's Office of Economic Development has a program called TCIP, and they can help you there. So today we have, of our $20 million, a great deal of it is going into research and development for our businesses, and we're very happy to be able to help with that. Our program helps Utah companies throughout the state access federal funds, which is different than the two state programs I've just spoken about.
That's great. And your program it does fall under the USTAR.
Correct.
And there's, like it said, USTAR covers the entire state in terms of innovation. And then your program specifically is, you actually, even though you're located here in Sandy in the Miller campus, you support entrepreneurs across the entire state.
Across the state. We have winners from Box Elder County to Washington County, as well as in Weber, Salt Lake, Orem. Yes, we are here for the state. We travel the state, bringing our our seminars, workshops, as well, of course, as meeting with entrepreneurs and founders, which is critical, making sure that we get face-to-face time with them. You bet.
One of the things I've always been really impressed is your team also feels like it's really important to have relationships with the program managers, the federal ones that are actually in DC making the funding decisions.
Absolutely.
And that's an important component of winning these grants, right?
Absolutely. So the SBIR-STTR Assistance Center opened in June of 2008. So USTAR started in 2006 and we began in 2008. And the program is dedicated to helping Utah companies navigate the SBIR and STTR process. So we haven't said what those are. SBIRs are Small Business Innovation Research Grants, and STTR is a sister program that helps transfer technology out of the universities is what it was intended for, but it has been enriched, and small companies are now able to use the facilities or the researchers at institutions through the STTR program. We do have, as Sarah has mentioned, a better than twice the national average. We are higher than 25%. We hover close to 30, but I get a little nervous putting down 30 until I can see it for a long time. And we've helped over 30 companies gain $20 million in funding with 59 awards. And again, it's non-equity funding.
That's so impressive. And that's why I'm so excited to highlight your program, because I think more people need to know about it and know how they can access these, because the state's paying for your office to support the growth of these startups.
Zero tax dollars.
That's right, and going to great use, especially with the work that you guys do. So we're going to go deeper into SBIRs and STTRs and kind of explain those more, because they can be difficult to navigate. There's lots of money in these programs. Okay. So we just got a note that our slides are not showing, but Mary, go ahead. The audio's still going, so let's go ahead and still talk about SBIR and STTR.
Okay, so the two programs, SBIR, these are mandated by law, and I think that's very important for people to recognize. These are not earmarks. This is a definite program that requires any agency that spends more than $100 million in research has to put in 3.2% into the SBIR program, and if they spend over $1 billion, they get to put in just under 0.5% into the STTR program. That all totals to $2.5 billion annually that gets dispersed between 11 agencies that participate in this program. We are looking at the 11 agencies that participate. The largest agency is the Department of Defense, which is about half the money, as you might expect. You know, the larger part of the program that they have of the United States budget, the larger they're going to be participating in the SBIR and STTR program. But again, this isn't done by state, it's not done by region. This money is given out entirely based on technology, making sure that the technology is getting the money, and it isn't, Utah doesn't have enough winners, there aren't enough winners in the West. We're looking for making sure that the technologies are winning this money. So we're just doing a little bit of technical work here, and there we go. We think we're good.
Thank you, Mary. We apologize. We were able to figure out how to show the slides. We apologize. We had it playing, and so I had to switch some settings during that time. So thanks for allowing us to transition through that. So we're just going deeper into the SBIR, STTR federal programs, and so now that you can see the slide, and these slides will also be made available on the ustar.org and in the SSAC program site as well.
And one question that we've had, Sarah, as the administration has changed, is what's going to happen to the program. And honestly, no one knows. No one knows anything about the funding that's going to move forward. But I want to assure folks that through the time that I've been in the program, the first 6 years, we were on a continuing resolution year for year. This tends to be very protected. Every state benefits. The technology that has come out of this is beyond phenomenal. GPS, as we'll talk about, started with SBIR. 70%, we've just learned, 70% of what's in our phones started with an SBIR. These are
Fascinating.
small companies that have
That's
moved
great.
forward. So it seems to be very protected. It certainly is. It crosses all lines, you know, Republicans, Democrats, everybody likes the
Right.
program. So we feel very secure.
Well, and as I recall, when I went through the program, there was a strong emphasis to really use U.S. businesses
That's right.
to support the
That's right.
program, and so it is a very it's a very nationalistic program
right.
that I don't see
Right.
going away
I
anytime soon
agree.
because we're
I
all
agree.
supporting our own economy
That's
here.
right.
Okay, so the slide didn't change. I am trying to. Okay, there we go.
So again, best part, non-equity position funds, truly, they're taking nothing from you. So we all know, as we're looking even at going to banks for loans, how hard it is to get that. But certainly as you move your company along, you're looking for angel funding or VC funding. This is taking nothing from you. And essentially, we'll talk about the two phases, but essentially you're getting $1 million one way or the other if you get both phases, and they're not taking anything from you. So there's no loss of technology, no loss of IP, and no payback of funds. There is a national emergency clause that we always make people aware of, and you'll sign this when you sign your grant or your contract. This has happened once. Sarah's familiar with this. The night vision goggles were licensed to the United States government and then back to the company, and we tell people it wasn't clean. They learned a lot of lessons, meaning the feds. And we believe that it's a cleaner process now, but it was not clean at the time, and we always want to make people aware that it was sticky. But it hasn't happened since, and it may, but again, it's nothing that they're going to spring on you.
Sure. So make no mistake, though, these grants, it's a lot of work to prepare these grants. And so I think that's the exchange, right?
That's right. You earn these. You earn them.
You definitely earn them, and you have to, there's a lot of reporting on the back end, but that's exactly what Mary and her team are here to support. So let's talk about the agencies that support these two federal grant programs.
Sure. These are the 11 agencies that participate. That is in bold: Defense, Energy, Health and Human Services, NASA, and the National Science Foundation, which we'll refer to as NSF periodically. Those are the big five. So they're in both SBIR and STTR. We have talked about if you spend over $1 billion, you participate in the STTR program. And these five agencies have budgets of research and development that are larger than $1 billion, as we might imagine. But the USDA, Commerce, Education, Homeland Security, Transportation, and the EPA play as well. Interesting note to help people, I think, get a perspective of these 11 agencies. The Department of Homeland Security is the last one to come to the party. And that happened after 9/11. After 9/11, their research budget went up tremendously. And again, mandated by Congress, if you have $100 million worth of research, you get to participate in this program, and that's how they joined.
It's great. I love the commitment to supporting small businesses,
right?
That they're all committing to.
So here is a breakdown of the money, and the DoD has just about under half, just over $1 billion. Department of Health and Human Services, often referred to as NIH, is just under $800 million. DOE, or Department of Energy, $200 million. NASA, $180, and the National Science Foundation, $176. The other is divided between the USDA, Homeland Security, Commerce, Transportation, Education, and the EPA. One thing that I want to tell folks is you look at your technology and you say, oh, the DoD needs it, and they may. And perhaps you're working with Department of Health and Human Services, but what I don't want folks to do is to bucket themselves. The DoD has as much money in breast cancer research as the National Institutes of Health. The National Science Foundation has as much money in education as education. So don't bucket yourself. Let's look through these and help you to find at least one home, if not two, that you can apply to.
That's right. And as I recall, the NSF is friendly to certain stages of innovation. And so that also impacts which agency you might apply to.
It's true. They all say, and they want to believe, that if you have an idea, bring it to us and we'll fund it. But the fact is, preliminary data is going to be helpful. They do want your idea to move through it, but National Science Foundation, which started the SBIR program, is still truest to that. Give us a good idea and let us help you see if we can't fund it. Frankly, it's just so competitive, Sarah. It's just they don't have the opportunity to just take the idea, give us a little data, give us a little showing, because the competition is so stiff.
Yeah, I think that's across the board. They're really requiring a lot more, commercialization potential
right.
data, and for what used to be researchers to really understand more of the business case of what's going to happen with their innovation. Just to be clear on these numbers, and before we move to the next slide, these numbers are the funding available for SBIR and STTR, right?
STTR, correct.
Okay.
Yep. Not for all of their research, but just for SBIR, STTR.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, so this is a competitive program. We talk about 3 phases. The first phase averages $150,000. This is a startup phase wherein you prove feasibility. Many of us have proven feasibility, but we want to show that we can move forward. And this is frankly where you get to start. This is what we call the dating phase. What they're looking at is you're more than likely capable of completing the project that you're putting forward. But they want to not just know that you're going to do that, but also that you're going to spend the government's money well. So this is an opportunity for them to see how you work. Do you do things on time? If things fail, how do you handle that? Those kinds of things. In phase 2, this is where we're engaged. This is averages $1 million. National Science Foundation is $750,000. National Institutes of Health is $1.5 million. So it switches between organizations. But Sarah's mentioned commercialization, and this is critical to both programs, and it's particularly in phase 2. We'll talk about this in just a minute, but 40% of the reason you're going to win is because you have a commercialization path. And that's one of the things that we can't necessarily write for you, but we say to you, this is more than just a Google search. Let us help you to get some depth. Let us help you to show the kinds of things that they're looking for. But you have to show strong commercialization in both phases. And then in phase 3, which is the misnomer, this is where you move into the marketplace. Well, maybe.
Right.
Certainly if you're life science, if you're a medical device, you're going to get a lot of time before you do that, but they want to know that you have a plan to move forward. But certainly after 2 or 3 years with a medical device, you're not moving in the marketplace, but we just need to know how you're moving forward.
So a couple of key thoughts. Having both the research component, kind of that academic eye on the innovation, is really critical, but then also having that business component, having a business partner as part of your team.
Critical.
Really
Absolutely
much more critical these days. Second question I have for you, in phase 1, the 150 seems a little bit lower than I recall. So
sure.
So let's talk about that.
You bet. The average is 150, and that's what the DoD does. So the average is going to be 50 because they're the biggest player.
Okay.
USDA only 80. National Science Foundation, $225,000, and National Institute of Health, $225,000, which tends to be where a lot of Utahns play. NSF, NIH, and components of the DoD are the big 3 for Utah. But again, USDA can be a little bit less, so it's an average.
Okay.
But 225 in 6 months is an average. A couple of them go to 9. Department of Energy will do 8 or 9 months, and USDA is 9 months as well.
Okay, so that's why we need you, Mary, to help us navigate through this, because every department
is different,
runs their program differently.
And changes come all the time, so we're here to answer any questions you have.
Yeah. Okay. So
commercial, we've talked about that.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about where you can use these funds, because that is when if you're a founder in a startup, you want to know, if I get $225,000 from the NSF, how can I use those dollars? So
the dollars can be used, and they're expected to be used, for salary and fringe benefits. This is expected to keep your company going on this project as you're working. So you're going to put in the number of hours. It's nearly milestone based. You can think of it that way. I'm doing this task. It's going to take Sarah 12 hours to work on this project. It's going to take Mary 10 hours to work on this project. And this is how much we're getting paid. What are your fringe benefits that go along with that? And then replacing supplies and leasing equipment. Overhead is included, and this is often as we're starting our companies, we're not sure of how that works. I'm working out of my home, Mary. I've just got a room here, and so does my co-founder. We'll help you to make sure that you're adequately covering your overhead, and this shifts between agencies tremendously. Consultants, you have a gap. You don't have the right equipment, or you need to work with a laboratory to get your tests done. You can do up to 33% of your money, and pardon me, testing is included in your business cost. I apologize, but you may need a consultant to come in and help you to do certain work on your projects. Up to 1/3 of your funds can be used for that, no more. And one of the best things is the 7% profit or fee. This money you can use for anything. This money you can use for the things that they disallow from the general fund, which is lawyers, patents, and marketing. They're not going to pay for your patents. This is research and development money that should help you to move along and ask for money from angels or from venture companies if you're going to be that far along to help with these kinds of costs, or simply have a seed round of funding. They don't like to buy computers and they don't like to create a lab. You should be a company, not a tinkerer that's just seeing if this will work. They want a solid company moving forward. But that 7% can go to the lawyers. That 7% can go to taking your team out to dinner, or to letting your spouses have a day off for all the time that you've been away and you're just going to take over for a few days. So send them to a spa. But so this is what they expect to spend on.
Yeah, so if you are doing a research and development project, this might not cover everything, and it's important to remember that they're very earmarked funds for certain activities, very much within the scope of that project. But it's really a nice piece of funding if you've got parts of your company where you want to develop these things out, and you sort of expect that, hey, this will help subsidize a lot of that.
That's absolutely right. There are companies that have an R&D line, and they work entirely on SBIRs, and they're a factory, and there is nothing wrong with that. They have brought great things to market. Ceramatech ran this way in the Valley.
Yes.
That's how they ran.
Yeah.
R&D came from the federal government.
It's a great strategy. Okay.
So are you qualified to be an SBIR company? If you are American owned, 51% owned by individuals, for profit with less than 500 people, you can apply for an SBIR. I want to emphasize, particularly with this directive, that we are very focused on women-owned business and minority-owned business, and have just this last year under Maria Quantas, Sweet Quantas, she has exceeded. She has exited with the new administration, but she exceeded the goals for both minority-owned and women-owned businesses within the SBA and the SBIR-STTR program. So we're making inroads, yes. And Utah has done very well with that as well. So I just want to emphasize, it is still about the technology, but helping our women-owned, minority-owned businesses move forward has been something we're very proud of, and is an emphasis for the program as well.
That's awesome.
STTR is the same. The STTR, in terms of qualifications, STTR, as we mentioned, works with research institutions, and there are ways that money is defined differently. You must give that research institution 30% of the money, and you have to spend at least 40%. What they're looking for is they don't want the research institution to just be doing funding their own research in a different way. It needs to come from the small business. It can give only 30% of the money to the research institution, or a minimum of, but they don't want the research institutions to look for another way of funding. So they've got some mechanisms in place. So
let me ask you this. I do know that USTAR has some research incentive programs for businesses to partner with. And Utah has amazing research institutions here, the U, BYU, and Utah State. I mean, we really are lucky in that way. So I think about like the Center for Scientific and Computing Institute up at the U, right?
Yeah.
And being able to partner with them. Do those programs that USTAR offers for those research partnerships with the industry, are those related to how you can get an STTR and fund some of those partnerships?
That is a great question. The two programs that USTAR has are called IPP, Industry Partnership, and I'm terrible, STIG, and I don't remember what STIG stands for, but they're on our website, and those are opportunities exactly for that, for university and industry partnerships to move forward. So I've encouraged people to look at that. The STTR in particular could augment or could help the review team to say, they have an STTR, so it has legs from the vets. Let's see if we can't help fund that along the same way. Is that what we're looking at? Yeah,
I'm just wondering if there's some synergies there, since I do know that USTAR has an emphasis in industry and industry and research partnerships, and how that ties into STTR, which feels similar to me.
That's right. There isn't a formal tie, but there is a relationship that could carry forward. The programs are too new with USTAR to know how that could actually work, but I think as you say, there's a synergy, and I think we need to move forward.
Yeah, and I think it's just important to know that that USTAR specifically set up to support those, and I think it correlates with the federal
You bet.
funding that can come through an
You
STTR.
bet. Let's just take a minute and mention that principal investigators, who are the people that need to lead the project, understand it, generally need to have the best understanding of the technology that you're moving forward, must work full-time at the company during the time of the award, which means 51%, and cannot work full-time elsewhere. So we want to make people aware of this. They need to be, again, we're looking to fund companies, I say we, but the federal government is looking to fund companies, not tinkerers. So you can't just pull somebody in off of a research lab and say, oh, just work on this project. They really need to be involved with the company. So this is something that any questions you have, move forward, but this needs to be somebody committed to the technology and the company itself.
That's great.
Okay. And to work with us, yes, you do have to have a Utah business license. We are funded by state tax dollars, and we need to make sure that our Utah company moves forward. We have calls all the time from folks that please help us, and we'd love to. And of course, we're going to give. Well, actually, a lot we can't do, but Utah companies, we're deep in the waters with you.
Well, we're lucky to have you, and we want to keep your resource here.
So. Yes, that's right. Don't move to Nevada. We have
right.
a company thinking of moving to Utah just because of USTAR's funding. So.
Really? Yeah. See, your word gets around.
That's right.
Like, we have amazing programs here.
Okay, so the center can help you with consultations at any time. If you're thinking about this program, we offer webinars and in-person seminars monthly to give people a good overview of the programs. And we then will help you to search for the right topic, find the match, offer you guidance on the gaps that you have in your company team. What's your commercialization look like? Do an evaluation of the whole program, of the technology, and we hope link you up with people that can help you in any gaps that you may have. The grant proposals are going to be written by the company. We would never know the science, and we never are going to have the passion that you do when you're writing about the work. But our editing is the editing of a reviewer, and we're trying to get that to be spot on, make sure everything talks to everything else, and then we help you with the submission, which I think anybody who's been through it, as Sarah has, the submission is just never a simple process, although some agencies are a little bit more simple than others. The DoD is very simple. They just sweep whatever's in there gets taken, and that's that. But others are much, much, much more arduous. So we help with that submission process. Our goal is to work with you as often and deeply as we can and make sure that we have a solid proposal. We also want to tell people, oh my gosh, it's deadline day. I'm not going to call them. They're going to be too busy. Never do that. We always want to help no matter what's going on, and we're here to do that.
Although, to be fair, just, I'm going to base this on personal experience. The more lead time you can give Mary and her team, the better. You're just, it just helps everyone. And so federal grants are not one of those things that you do at the last minute. And so getting a head start, attending the very informational webinars that her team does, they're so good to attend those because they provide you so much great information and they literally walk you through the process. But get a head start on that, and then you'll be able to maximize what her team can do for you.
We appreciate that. The 25% win rate does come because we work deeply with people. And phase one, your first phase 105, you can tell me if this is right, but we have an average of 200 hours. That
easily.
Yes, and people just don't believe us, but your second's only going to be 150 because you need to speak specifically to what's going on. These are not cut and paste.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, we've got some upcoming grant deadlines and solicitations open.
We just closed, the DoD closed this week and the Department of Energy closed this week. Omnibus solicitation for the NIH is due on April 5th, and in keeping with that, we're going to hold a workshop on the 24th at the Salt Lake Community College Miller campus from 9 to noon, and we have a link there, and you can go to our website and sign up as well. $25 includes breakfast and all the materials. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, is due on March 30th. You can apply. That's very, very interesting. NIST has some great opportunities. If you're anywhere, I can't even, this is one of those things that I really don't want to offer even abroad. scope of what's happening, because NIST is looking for a great many things, and it's important to look there. We're happy to guide you through that. National Science Foundation, which is very broad in scope. They want blood on the floor. Show us what you've got. That's released in March with an expected due date of early June, and really a tremendous offer. One of the places that we find homes for most people. And starting with them early is critical as well. So those are upcoming. We also have our one-on-one webinars and these kind of events as well. So we look forward to meeting many of you in those events.
And if someone were to want to continue to get information, because the thing is these solicitations are constant and ongoing, how do they make sure they get on your email list?
Sure. So we have two opportunities. One, you can say, please email me, and that comes at Utah SBIR-STTR Center, utah.gov. I'm saying the wrong address. You can email me at mcarden@utah.gov. It is on our website. We also have a search service, one of the few things that we charge for, wherein for a whole year, every time a solicitation comes out, within 10 days of that solicitation, you receive an email that says it's out. And we visited with you with keywords prior to, and we have looked through all of that solicitation, which was over 300 pages for the DoD, and said, here's a match, you got to get going, or, and this is what happens most often, it's a topic of interest. You need to look at this. I think it will fit. We think it will fit. How's it going to work for you? Or there's nothing, but here's the topic. In case something's changed, please look at the solicitation. So that's available for you for $75 a year. We meet with you for an hour, make sure we understand your technology and company, and then send out the emails within 10 days of each solicitation. So that's a fabulous service.
It's only $75 a year.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something like $7,500 a year.
Yeah, no, 75.
Oh my gosh.
We $75 seemed to be a little bit of break. We were pretending, but you know what? We have people who've been on this for 4 years running, because they're deeply the solicitations over 4 years. The opportunities are going to be narrowed down, but they want to know every time something comes out, because this is part of their business plan. $75 is nothing, not in terms of $75, but it's so worth it because they haven't missed an opportunity.
Right.
They haven't missed anything that's going on. So.
That's so great. It's so comprehensive too. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've also got a couple state grants coming up.
Right.
So let's talk about those.
UTAG, as we mentioned, is open now. This is for researchers and research teams at the institutions, to include Salt Lake Community College, Snow College, BYU, Westminster, University of Utah, USU, any non-profit institution in the state. And then our TAP, which is for companies, Technology Acceleration Program, is coming on the 27th, and all that information is on our programs at ustar.org. The one thing I want to mention is USTAR, because USTAR gives out this money, is not able to assist in any of these applications.
So specifically your center, the SSAC.
Yes, and any USTAR person that you may know cannot assist in this, because it's our money and we are keeping it very transparent.
Okay.
We will lead the review teams, but we will not assist. We do not score. So just a point.
Okay. Great. So Mary and her team are amazing. This slide is probably the most important slide out of all of the ones that we showed, but they're very responsive too. So when she says email me at mcarden@utah.gov, she really means it. She will reply. Linda's amazing as well, and Ashley. So I can't say enough about what a great team we've assembled here. So we're going to leave just a couple minutes for questions. Please submit any now if you have some that we may not have answered in this, and then we'll answer as many as we can. While we're giving people a moment, the SBA has a new director, Linda McMahon.
The SBA has a new director.
And does she impact the work that you do, or that group?
Only in support. I mean, a tremendous support coming from her. So the impact is very positive, very, very enthusiastic about the program that we have. Our state folks, Stan Nagano, Steve Price, very, very strongly support the program that we have. Steve is actively involved, making sure that we move forward. So we're excited.
Okay, and also I want to mention Mary just received an award, and
Mary didn't. The center did.
Okay, the center. Tell us what the award was and what it was for.
Thank you. We are very honored to have received the SBA's highest award. It's just the 2016 Tibbetts Award, named for Roland Tibbetts, who started the program. So we were nominated for the award by Greg Nelson out of Vivint Solar.
That's awesome.
Yes, and he was very generous in doing that. And we, Dr. Estabrook, who runs USTAR, and myself were able to go back and receive the award. It is sitting in my office for the first 6 months, and then USTAR will take it up to their headquarters, but we're holding it there. And it was very, very humbling. We were very honored to have received the award, and a lot of good work. But what we say, it isn't untrue. It's because of the companies. The companies that we work with are the reason that we're successful. It's not because of us. So we appreciate it very much, and we're thrilled. Thank you.
Well, you needed to be recognized a long time ago, but I'm thrilled that they finally did it. Okay, so we do have a question from Travis Harvey. She says,
"Hi, Travis."
Hi, thanks for listening. She says, we've applied for SBIRs from the Department of Energy in the past, but you mentioned not boxing ourselves in by looking at only one department. So what resources do you recommend for searching SBIR-STTR funding opportunities across agencies?
Sure. So you can go to SBIR.gov has bolstered this tremendously. That is run by the SBA. And there is a search function wherein you can put keywords for open and closed topics. So I would put in keywords, takes a little bit of time, but I would put in keywords there. There has been in the past a gentleman who supported this wholeheartedly out of his heart, and that was ZYN.com. Rick Schindel ran ZYN.com, and he has past topics, but he has had some issues in the past 2 years, and that has fallen. That is going to come back up. Rick has told us that. So it may be up. I haven't checked in the last month or so, but ZYN.com it has all the past, so you can look at past solicitations. And that's what you want to look for, to see what have they been doing. Right now, the only thing you're going to find is NIST and NIH. But what did DOD do? What did NSF do? Other agencies. So use SBIR.gov and use their search feature, and give us a call, Travis. We'd be happy to work through that with you.
So one last question from one of our webinar participants. What can I expect to learn at the NIH Workshop, which is one of your upcoming sessions?
Great. This is largely geared to phase 1. We'd like to say that everybody, and we believe that everybody will get something out of it, but it's largely geared at phase 1 with a lack of understanding. This is the question you'll ask. So what we're going to go over is why it's important that every document speak to every other document, that they all complement each other and build on each other, how your budget gets done, what kind of overhead you should be looking at, why you write the abstract at the end. You write the abstract at the end because you've been working on your project for 4 weeks and you wrote it at the beginning and now it's changed. And it's not going to have the punch, even if it didn't change too much. How come it's important that your bio sketches have very strong personal statements? Why it's important within the 6 pages to mention commercialization. We want to make sure that everything speaks to what the NIH is going to be looking for, and we're going to show you how to do that.
Great. Okay, well, stay in touch with Mary and her group for all of the information. There are constantly workshops going on all the time, and as you can, well, there's a lot of work that you guys have to do, but you can tell just from this session that Mary is so knowledgeable and her team is so knowledgeable. So just know that they're an amazing resource. They're state funded, so they are free to Utah companies, except for the search service, which is only $75 a year.
And every now and again a small charge for a seminar.
Okay.
$25, but that's it.
That's right. Just such nominal cost. It's such an amazing resource for the state. So thank you for attending. We're going to be posting all of this online, and go to ustar.gov. It's ustar.org, excuse me. ustar.org for any other information. Their center, the SSAC Center, is part of the USTAR organization. And they are the SBIR-STTR Assistance Center. So Mary, thank you so much for being on our Capitol Forum webinar, and hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks, everyone.